and its collusion with the
right.
with China, along with Wall Street, the Chamber
Lou,
of
there's one
Commerce,
topic I tried to bring up the topic in Beijing of just tell me what happened with Hunter Biden. And that, I've never seen him get so secretive in my entire life. They would discuss ICBM warheads sooner than talk about what Hunter Biden was doing in China with Vice President Biden. That's a big area now where the Chinese know they don't want any American probe into what happened with Hunter Biden.
Well, and they don't want in any way to give up the exploitation of the United States, whether it be with their trade surplus and trade with us or the theft of our intellectual property. Thank you, Michael Pillsbury. We're coming right back.
This is Michael Pillsbury, an outside advisor to the White House on trade, inadvertently admitting on national television that he had already broached the subject of investigating Joe Biden with Chinese officials. This came after Trump landed himself in hot water for suggesting 5 minutes after an impeachment inquiry was opened because he got caught asking Ukraine to investigate Biden that China should do the same.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine.
Now, Trump's strategy here is obviously to try and normalize this type of behavior, to will into existence the idea that if we become used to it, it won't carry the same weight, and maybe public opinion will shift away from impeachment, just like it did with Trump's Russia saga. That by virtue of getting scandal fatigue, conspiring with a foreign government to interfere in our election won't have the same shock value. Clearly, that didn't happen, as public opinion in support of impeachment has instead surged. In fact, it only took 2 weeks for 58% of Americans to support impeachment, which is nearly identical to the number that Nixon was looking at when he opted to resign. Just in case anyone wants to take a hint. But Trump suggesting out loud that China investigate Biden also served the purpose of testing the waters, because, as we now know, the White House had already broached that topic with them. So while China might know better than to risk embroiling itself in an international scandal to coddle some quasi-authoritarian's ego, that doesn't change the fact that the administration has been hiding what they've already done. But whatever Trump's rationale, he clearly reversed course after the blowback he received from the statement, in that he immediately denied that he'd already asked them to open a probe, which we now know to be untrue. Shocker. To be clear, this act is impeachable in and of itself. This is someone admitting that the White House sought a thing of value from a foreign entity, which we know dirt on Joe Biden to be. So while a decidedly lawless Trump might think this is no big deal, it's absolutely grounds for him to lose his office. But another scary part of all of this is that the White House is in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with China, meaning he could be using the promise of an investigation into Biden as a bargaining chip. Because, as we know, it's clearly valuable to him. We already know that he released $250 million in military assistance to Ukraine that had apparently been on the chopping block, as well as an additional $150 million that even Ukrainian President Zelensky admitted he wasn't expecting. In other words, he must have felt that the promise of an investigation by Ukraine was worth at least $400 million in raw dollars, which isn't to say that he wouldn't be willing to lift certain tariffs or offer favorable terms during negotiations with China. He's tried to buy dirt before and clearly was willing to do it again. So while this is appalling, it's not the least bit surprising. We already know that Trump approached Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and his Attorney General went to Italy, all to try and gather information to discredit the Mueller probe. This administration is absolutely hell-bent on using Trump's bully pulpit as President of the United States to pressure other countries to do his political bidding, on leveraging American taxpayer dollars on promises for favors, all for the express purpose of nursing Trump's fragile ego and getting some extra, albeit illegal, help as he heads into 2020. And this is why impeachment is important, because there are clearly no limits to the extent to which Trump will discard any semblance of the rule of law, will trash our entire foreign policy, will sell out the American people so that he personally can get a leg up politically. The only way that law and order could be restored at this point is for this corrupt president to be removed from an office that he couldn't help but abuse.